been a long time since we had a white Christmas. Do you remember that, Evellyn? 24 years ago, and never a happier day in my life. The strange thing is that we didn't even go out into it. We didn't feel the snow under our feet as I do now. It was an excuse to stay inside, wasn't it? We just sat and shared each other's warmth. Just look at me. Look at how old I sound. It's been too long since we last met. It's been too long since you left, Evellyn. But I can find solace in that night, sitting by the fire like the perfect illusion of happiness. Our arms touched, our fingers wove, and we were perfect. We still would be. I don't know why it's been so long since I visited you. I suppose I never really wanted you to go. No man would. The honest truth is that, well, I hadn't forgiven you. But I still haven't forgotten you either. Everything you meant to me you still mean. Everything we used to see in each other, we still could be. Do you realise, Evellyn, just how much I loved you? I always thought I made it obvious, but if I did, then why would you have left? To risk sounding like an angst-ridden teenager, you tore my heart out on that night. If only you could have stayed, I thought to myself, then we could have had another Christmas together, just like the days of our youth. December the 25th was your favourite day, wasn't it? You weren't religious, but you saw the magic at 40 that was there at 4. So much happens to us on the most festive of days. I'll meet you at that party of Martin's on Christmas. Then the next year, Christmas Eve, when your dad had taken your money from you, and you were crying onto my shoulder because you couldn't buy presents. I gave you my week's wage and all the tips from the small waiting job I had at the time. Before we went last-minute Christmas shopping, you gave me a kiss on the cheek and asked me out on the spot. I think that was the best £200 I've ever spent, except for the engagement ring. You never knew about that, did you? I knew you were going to leave. You never told me, of course, but I knew. I read all of the letters, and I know I shouldn't have, but were you going to tell me? No, of course you weren't. You were too kind to let me dwell on that. Guess what date I read the first one? Yeah, that's right. And then you left the very next year. I was going to propose to you on that day. I was going to try and make you stay. It would be the perfect Christmas present, and the only way I could top that kiss you gave me. I've never really looked at Christmas the same without you, Evellyn. The first year alone I replaced you with alcohol. I think everyone does. I was sober by New Year, and I didn't touch the stuff again after the things I did. Until the next year, that is, when it hit me even harder. I smashed our house to pieces. Photos, records, furniture, walls, doors, appliances. Anything that wasn't tied down, and a good chunk of what was got destroyed. That's how I coped for a while. An annual session of enough booze to stun a horse, followed by the complete destruction of anything within a few feet of me. I'd fix all the damage afterwards. It reminded me why I only did this once a year. And then I found another way of coping. After 12 years without you in my life, I found someone else. No woman could ever fill the gap you left, Evellyn, but I'd spent so long without you, and there was someone who cared enough to notice the bruises on my knuckles. Boxing Day 4 years ago. He wrapped my hands, and he spoke to me for a long time. I wouldn't give him all of the details, but he wrestled them out of me. He made me come over his for Christmas the next year, just so he could keep an eye on me. He has a kid, Evellyn, and you'd love her. So accepting and so loving. Her name's Marissa. Isn't that funny? Just like we were going to call the... well... I've had your address for a long time. Everyone has tried to make me visit, and I've even driven by a few times. I can never approach the gate, though. I can never walk across the lawn. I didn't want to see you like this. I can't speak to you like this. You won't listen to me, will you, Evellyn? There's nothing I can say anymore, is there, Evellyn? I've missed all my chances. I should have been there for you. If only you'd have told me, then maybe I could have been. I miss you. There's no denying it. When I saw the flakes falling outside of the window, I knew that today was the day I had to come and visit you. He wasn't going to let me leave. He still thinks I'm going to slip into the old habits. But when I explained where I was going, he insisted on coming. He helped me open the gate. He watched me cross the grass to you. He wants to talk too. He wants to support me, but I have to do this alone, and he can accept that. It's funny how quiet this place is on Christmas, you know. There's only one other person here. She's a woman, looks about my age. I might go and talk to her, let her know she's not alone. That's something it took me a while to learn after you. None of us are alone, really. It would do well to remind people so they don't make my mistakes. I hope you like the flowers. I'll leave them here on the grass. I just wanted to say it finally. To tell you I forgive you, and that I don't blame you for leaving anymore. Merry Christmas, Evellyn.